yeah, I think if things are a bit up in the air, I think it always helps to settle down nerves by doing something which has no strings attached.
And we've done little test stones and stuff before with artists, and they've they've ended up being additions, the test stones themselves, because the artists really loved what they got.
Hello, print friends, and welcome. This is a bilingual podcast, so if you subscribe to us, you'll be getting episodes in English with me, as well as in Spanish with Reinaldo Gil Zambrano. Together, we speak with people around the globe about their practice and their passions in the field of print media and multiples. Hello, Print Friend is brought to you by Speedwell Art Products, currently offering possibly the best thing to happen to relief printmaking, their Woodzilla presses. Beautifully made in the Netherlands, these uniquely engineered presses combine superior craftsmanship and performance at a price that makes them accessible, whether you're a seasoned printmaking pro or new to the craft. Available across 5 sizes, each Woodzilla press is precisely manufactured from heavy-duty steel and designed to apply uniform pressure without undue work or stress for the artist, while still guaranteeing a beautifully printed result at every reveal. Check out these beauties through the link in the show notes. This episode is also brought to you by Legion Paper. Legion Paper is a fine art paper company that represents the best papers in the world. They either stock it, source it, or make it with brands like Stonehenge, Somerset, Coventry, Reeves, Arches, and more. Legion is the best paper resource for every artist and printmaker's needs. Learn more about the variety of papers Legion stocks at www.legionpaper.com. Hey print friends, did you know that Florence, Italy is home to Srisa, a leading institution for art and design education? It offers highly personalized instruction and experiential learning meeting American university standards for study abroad programs in fine art, liberal arts, and design. Educators who are interested in teaching at Srisa can lead a faculty-led program utilizing its top-notch printmaking facilities in one of the world's most inspiring cities. To learn more, email info@srisa.org. That's SRISA.org. And don't forget to mention that Hello Print Friend podcast sent you for exclusive discounts and perks. My guests this week are Ade and Stephanie Turnbull from Lemonade Press, an independent lithography studio in Bristol, England, offering lithographic printing, residencies, plate graining, and courses in lithography and monotype. We talk about building this now thriving press during the start of the pandemic, working together through changing life circumstances, and what the future holds. They also wrote a book all about lithography, titled Lithography, An Artist's Guide, published by Crowood Press in September of just last year. It is a step-by-step guide to demystifying this mercurial process. There's a link in the show notes for that. Hi, Steph. Hi, Kath. How's it going?
Hi, nice to see you.
Hi.
Nice to see you too. I'm really happy we got connected, and I had the pleasure of doing a little bit of background research on you both and on Lemonade Press, preparing for this, and I'm just really excited to learn more. It sounds like you're doing something really cool in Bristol, and I just love having a chat with good print friends around the world, so I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah, me too. Us too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing to connect with you and have a chat about, well, yes, this is really cool, and we both listen to the podcast, so this is really cool.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. If you listen, then you know what's coming next, which is my introductory questions for everyone. And so I'm hoping you both could just let people know who you are, where you are, and what you do.
I'm Ade. I live in Bristol, in the West Country in the UK, and a lithographer at the Lemonade Press.
Wonderful.
Hi, I'm Steph. I'm actually based in Wales, but travel over to Bristol to hang out at the Lemonade Press as well. And I'm also a PhD student at Aberystwyth University.
Cool. Which university?
Aberystwyth.
Oh, okay. Wonderful. In what? What in lithography?
Yeah, material research for lithography.
Oh, that sounds really interesting. We'll definitely have to talk more about that later. I'd love it if both of you could give a little bit of background about yourselves. And one of my favorite ways to do this is to get the where did you grow up and what was the artistic landscape of your childhood? If you were artsy kids, if you came from an artsy family, did you go to museums? Did you draw all the time? Did visual art not come into your life until later? What's that early days like for you both?
I guess I grew up in a creative family. My mum's a textile artist, but didn't go into it until much later. But there was always that interest in art, in making things growing up. And I guess it was really the only thing I was particularly interested in, especially in my teens, making things, creating things. Yeah.
Kath, what about you?
That was for me, art was the only thing I was interested in as a kid. I'm not really sure where it came from because neither of my parents are artists, although I suppose my dad does a creative job. He's a gardener and that's colour and shape and everything. We didn't really go to museums or galleries when I was a kid, but I think just having a good art teacher in secondary school especially made me realise what I was really interested in. And I went to college to do BTEC. I grew up in Eastbourne on the south coast of the UK, which is about 20 miles east of Brighton. And so it's quite a small place and there is a really good art gallery there, and I actually ended up doing work experience from school there when I was 16, which they obviously didn't have much for a 16-year-old person to do. I just had to sort some slides out for them. But the gallery has moved since, and it's actually hosted the Turner Prize last year, which is really cool. So, I had an interest in it as a kid, but I went to college and everything. But I was supported a child by my parents, both of them. Okay, fine, if that's what you want to do, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Got books and stuff like that, but not especially artistic families.
And did you both go right into art school from the beginning? You knew you wanted to study this in some serious way?
Yeah, weirdly, we both followed each other without knowing each other. So we both went to Cardiff School of Art and Design, but I think I started when you were in your final year. Is that correct?
I think so, yeah.
Both specialised in printmaking within fine art. And then we both did MAs at UE in Bristol, but I think the year you graduated, I started again. So it's like missing each other.
But we did meet at the degree show, didn't we?
Yes, I came and saw your degree show because I heard someone was making lithographs, and I'd already been trained at Tamarind at that point, so my practice was already very much within lithography. So and then we both ended up at the Curling together.
There it was.
We were destined to know each other.
That's what it sounds like. Yeah. The universe would not have you two not meeting each other. Yeah.
Very persistent.
Yeah.
That's great. And so when did you all find printmaking? Steph, you mentioned that you went to Tamarind, and I read that in your bio as well. But when did printmaking and maybe even more specifically lithography come into your lives?
It was at Cardiff during my undergrad. I did go with the intention of becoming a sculptor, but we had to do these rotations, and I did a print. So I think you get 3 weeks, was it 3-4 weeks?
Something like that, yeah.
In each discipline. And I think I made double or triple the amount of work of everyone else. For me, it just clicked. Something made sense. We're doing woodblock printing. And I just absolutely fell in love with print. And then got introduced to lithography in my second year. I've always been quite, I guess, technical. So just the technical aspect of printmaking was really appealing to me. So obviously lithography became very appealing to me because it just made no sense at the beginning.
Yeah, for me, I went to Cardiff with the intention of being a painter and did the exact same thing as Steph and did the rotation in printmaking and thought, oh, actually, I can do quite a lot of painting things in printmaking, but you also have this like amazing graphic technical side of things. You learn lots of different skills and you're working with lots of different materials, and that's really interesting for me. So I just went into etching essentially, and spent my undergrad doing that. And then after that, I had a few years out working, and at the same time, I did a work placement, like a work exchange in Berlin, and lived there for 3 months. And it was really great. I went to see loads of artists work in galleries and so on, and I was working at an art school. And then when I came back from Berlin, it was a financial crisis, and neither me or my boyfriend could get jobs, and we were living in Cardiff. And well, I can't really do anything apart from I was a member of a print studio as well, which had really cheap membership, Cardiff workshop. And I ended up doing a lot of monoprinting and cut after when I came back, because it was really cheap to do. And then one of the members did some lithography, Arian Lloyd, and she showed me using Paul Croft's book, who's a Tamarind printer, and he's based in Wales, and he's Steph's PhD supervisor now. He actually came and did a masterclass with us in the workshop, and I started getting into lithography a little bit after my undergrad, actually. And I got my portfolio together and applied to do the masters in Bristol. Yeah. Can't remember the question now. Sorry.
it was this, you both answered it beautifully. It was how you came to printmaking. Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. There you go. And so why do you think lithography sparked an interest in you? This is, again, like a question for both, can maybe taken individually or joint, but I was talking to another friend in the print world, a print friend, if you will, the other day, and we were talking about how lithography has this aura of almost being like the queen of medium. It has this real sort of reputation around it, and it has a quality of being, of all the sort of major media within printmaking, of being the one that the most invisible things happen in the process. The chemical process, and you don't see it, and you don't really know that it's worked until you start to try and roll up your stone or your plate. Whereas something like woodcut, you can say, look, either the wood is there still or it's not. It's very direct. Or even with something like etching, you can look at it and you can say, like, how deep is that line? How well did that aquatint take? That kind of thing. So litho has these incredible capacities, but also it's mercurial. It's famously frustrating. So out of all the print media, it sounds like you both, clearly with what you do at Lemonade Press, really landed on litho as something that you thought you could spend a lot of time with in your life. So just wondering, why lithography in the world of printmaking?
For me, when I first really got into doing lithography was on my MA course that I did in Bristol. And I realised then that actually everything I was trying to do in etching, which was soft ground and lift grounds and things like that, and trying to do painterly things, I can actually do much more effectively. Other people who are etchers will probably disagree with me. In lithography, I really like the transparent colours lay over each other. Everything's made sense to me in my head. And then I spent the 3 years of my MA course basically trying to learn as much as I could about lithography and asking Phil, the technician who works there, as many annoying questions as possible. He directed me to the Tamarind book and Paul Croft book, and yeah, it was a learning curve for me, but it was really exciting. And it's one of those processes that is never ending.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's always something that can surprise you in lithography, and it can look really graphic and clean and sharp. It can look like a monotype. You can incorporate other forms of printmaking with it and incorporate other techniques into lithography. Yeah, so I think, yeah, it's just never ending. I think it's great.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, I started doing it in my undergrad, and we got shown Let me show first. So simple crayon drawing, I think, was our first task that we had to do. And then the next one was a manning. And I remember turning around to my tutor going, can you do the same? Can you do them both on the stone at the same time? And he was like, no, that won't really work. And I think because of the type of student, I was like, And I went off and I managed to figure out how to do it rather crudely. But so I think just technically, it was just always really intriguing because I didn't think I was going to like lithography because I wouldn't consider myself much of a drawer, for instance. But technically, I was just very intrigued by how it worked. And then I was a technician for a year and I somehow ended up having to teach students lithography and I didn't even understand the process myself. So when things went wrong, I was getting a lot of questions and then getting really frustrated that I was also like the students and I didn't quite understand what was, why was that wash filling in or disappearing or whatever it was. So that's when I decided to apply to Tamarind. And I think once you get hooked in there, that's it. Then you're lithographer for life, I think.
You're in the Tam fam.
About everything's lithography.
And then, so tell me a bit about how you two, you mentioned that you met at Kath's show initially. When did you start to think about collaborating and actually working together on something?
We met each other properly and started working together. We both worked at the Crowood studio in London.
Okay.
I got the job there because I did a part of the MA courses to do practice in a professional context, essentially work experience. And because I was so already involved in Cardiff Print Workshop, which is essentially an open access print shop, so you can pay a membership and go in and use the equipment, I thought it would be a good idea to go and learn as much as I could about edition printing on some work experience there. And then when they moved back to London in 2014, I'd spent some time on my work experience. I was there when an artist in residence was there, and it was just a really amazing week. It was a proper eye-opener for me, and seeing how they work there and meeting Stanley Jones and seeing him work on a stone with an artist. And I was just like, I'd really love to try and do something like this. And I was very fortunate to be offered a job there, and I started working. You started working there about a year later, was it?
Yeah, 2016, I think I started.
Yeah, so that's when we first started working together. And then we were working there together, collaborating with artists and making edition prints. And it'd always been an ambition of mine to try and go to Tamarind. And so I applied and did the summer school back in 2019. So I went there and that was an incredible experience. And we had spoken about starting up our own studio. And that sort of fell more into place when we got in touch with a lithographer called Andrew Purchase, because he was graining plate and supplying lithographers in the UK. And we thought, maybe that's a good idea, because...
Yeah, we heard he was retiring.
He was in his late 70s, retiring, still graining plates. I thought maybe, we could take over. And that would be a good income for the studio. And then maybe...
Yeah. And so I saw on the website that Lemonade Press was founded in 2020. So that was probably an interesting year to start a business. Am I right about that?
That was an interesting one. The grade editor actually got moved right at the beginning of 2020. So I think it was January. We had some basic equipment in the studio just before lockdown. Steph has a load of collection of stones in her garage.
Yeah, I had a print studio in a garage that wasn't set up, just all in boxes.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, if you find a space, I can fit the kit and keep you up and running like a lot quicker.
Yeah.
Because I need somewhere to put it all. So it worked out quite well, didn't it?
Yes. And I had a few bits of equipment, but you've been collecting for a lot longer.
Yeah, since my undergrad, I think I bought my first press After I graduated, only a little tiny direct stone press, but I think it'd only been up for about a couple of years before I'd had to put it in storage again. And it was nice to have a space to put it in, even if it was only brief. We managed to acquire a bigger press, didn't we? So
yeah. So yeah, it was an interesting, because it was the plan was to, for me personally, was to, so we were driving and commuting to London and doing lift shares and stuff to work at Kirwin. For me personally, the plan was to try and work a little bit closer to home, because the commute is a killer, and just do something where we can also be more independent about projects. The work at Kirwin was really interesting, but I think for me personally, it was just so much offset reproduction printing work and enough collaborative printing. Although the collaborations where we did have artists in the studio were really interesting, and we were able to do lots of interesting things, I just personally just felt that it was little too much of that offset reproduction printing in the balance for me. And also the other thing is having a resource for lithographers in this area in the southwest who could come and either upskill, learn more about the process, because lithography is very underused as a process in the UK. I think that's one thing that we had both on our minds.
Yeah, there was nothing really in the southwest. There's nothing particularly in Wales, unless you go know the Aberystwyth way, in which case Aberystwyth printmakers have a direct press. But then the other issue is, even if studios do have a press, they don't often have technical staff there that know how to use the process. If you're thinking, if you were an undergrad and you touched on lithography a bit and you were interested in pursuing it further, it then becomes quite tricky to do that. Because even if you find someone with a press, there's not necessarily anyone that's there to help you, which is why we all rely so heavily on the handwritten textbooks and Paul Crofts. And,
absolutely.
To act as a print tutor in the studio.
Yeah. I know actually when I was at Cardiff Print Workshop, they had, before they moved, sadly they sold their offset when they moved, and then the direct press they didn't have space for in their new space. So I think they still have it, but it's in a cupboard in pieces. But when I was there as a member, it was very much like completely self-directed, try and figure yourself into doing something and figure out things by yourself. And so it's more sort of a trial and error situation than having somebody there who necessarily can help. So,
definitely.
I think that was one of the things that we were both conscious about as well, just making sure that we could offer something to other people in terms of collaborative printing, as well as the education side and the supply of plates to other studios and universities to keep lithography going and to encourage more people to take it up.
Yeah, that's huge. That is really huge. That's, as I'm sure you both know, being Tamarind trained printers, that was June Wayne's whole mission at the very beginning, was like, this is an incredible medium and people are forgetting how to do it. And so the best way to keep it alive is to start something where people can come and get real training in it with, as you say, someone who knows, not just looking in a textbook and checking back and forth, or I'm sure looking on TikTok or whatever people do, but someone who can stand there looking at a plate or a stone next to you and saying, this is what I think happened, and this is how you save it, or whatever it is. Yeah. No, that's wonderful. When you started it, did you have the full idea at the beginning that you were like, we can do contract printing, we can do collaborative printing, we can do memberships, we can do classes? Was that sort of a holistic idea at the beginning in 2020, or did that sort of grow over the last 4 years?
I think the artist residencies aspect of things has definitely grown out of just operating the studio.
Yeah.
Other aspects of it were premeditated. I think we thought about them.
Yeah, I guess because we're just trying to think of what do we offer and how do we bring people into the studio what might the print community around us need, not even just locally, but I mean, we get a lot of people coming down from London, the Midlands, to come and use the space because there isn't that much access. I know studios during lockdown were lost in London, so even their access to lithography has become even more limited since. So places like ours are coming onto the radar instead.
Yeah, definitely. And there are, in terms of the, when we do a residency, which we have two kinds of residencies really. One is more for, at the end of the residency, having BATs or approval to prints that we would then edition print. And then the other aspect of residencies is that artists come to learn the process or learn, if they've never done ball-grained aluminium, for example, or technicians from universities have come and got like training support from the university to come into the studio. And they come from all over, really. Tracy Hill.
Yeah.
Catherine Paul came down from Lancashire.
Yeah.
And actually last week I had an artist in residence from Sheffield, and she's a painter and has quite a bit of experience in stone lithography. Mandy Payne, but her practice is spray painting onto blocks of marble, or she actually casts concrete and create. She's really interested in brutalist architecture, and I knew she was a painter, but I didn't realise that she actually painted using the spray paint, and that's a material that you can apply to plates. And she was interested in using plates because of the portability of them and being able to work on them in her studio. Yeah, it's been a really interesting week. But yeah, I think in terms of things that we do in the studio, the residencies weren't necessarily something that were planned, but have grown out of what we could see happening and what people were looking for.
And I think that also speaks to what we were talking about a little bit earlier about this idea of using Lemonade Press as a vessel to instill more lithography just into the world, which I think is really wonderful. And of course, coming and staying and having a period of time where you're really studying it or you're figuring it out, that's huge. That's a very cool thing to be offering, because then they do the Johnny Appleseed, then they're out in the world as just another person who has some of the knowledge. So that's really cool. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I think part of it is we're coming from so far away, wasn't it? For most people, it was more worthwhile for them to be able to come and spend a period of time, because it's not so easy to travel from across the country just for one day every once in a while. Just so having a block of time became more appealing, where they could know that they could be in the studio for a week or a couple of weeks, whatever it is, and dedicate a huge chunk of time to learning the process or experimenting with the process.
It's also really exciting for us.
Yes.
To be completely selfish. When you have in the studio, you can, when you're working one-to-one with somebody, you can really go down a rabbit hole. And that's really, from a selfish point of view, trying things that we'd like to try.
Absolutely. Do you have a large enough setup where you can have an artist in residence and be doing classes at the same time, or do you have to schedule your times either or?
It's either or. 2 presses in the studio side. So the studio is divided into 2. So there's one room which is where the graining machine is, and so all of the noise and the mess are kept separate. Mm-hmm. And then we've got a polymetal direct press and Ratcliffe and Sons offset, both relatively large size press beds, so we can work quite large. But we do have to, because all of the presses are in one room, we can't necessarily, we're a bit tight for space, and not massively conducive. And a bit of a space.
And so when you do collaborative print, that's when, as you said, like someone comes in who might be a painter and they're coming in, and do they usually have an idea of exactly what they want to do or what they want to achieve? And then on the other side of it, does Lemonade Press do any does any have any sort of retail aspect, any kind of like gallery aspect, or that kind of, some studios will do you come in and we split the edition and the studio sells some and the artist takes some. And yeah, I guess I'm just asking about the ins and outs of the collaboration process.
I think everything we've done so far is like contract printing.
Yeah.
I think there's been actually, I think we've only done 2 jobs which have been like you've just described, where we've split the cost and everything, and then we sell the prints. But really, no, we don't have a gallery space. And also the responsibility of selling print is a whole other aspect. It would be really amazing. That would be really cool to do that, but we just don't have the resources.
Yeah. I mean, no, it's an entirely different job for sure. I can definitely tell you that. Having been someone who's in the business of selling prints for about 5 years, it's really interesting. Yeah, it is often its own sort of educational role because you're explaining very much how things are made and that sort of thing. But yeah, it's definitely, you would need like a whole nother brain, I feel, like a whole nother person to really fully lean into something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. We do go to print fairs and things like that where we do tabletop print sales, and we're doing actually 2 this month,
nice.
but it's not a very regular occurrence.
Do you think that part of going to print fairs and doing tabletop sales, I'm sure it's always nice to sell work, and of course as small business owners, any revenue stream, any diversified revenue stream is always good, but do you think part of that is just getting your name out as well to people who are interested in prints if you have a presence at a print fair?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sure.
definitely. I mean, we do Bristol Artist Book Event, Babe, a couple of times. I'm doing it again this year. Last time we did it, we were in the library room doing a demo at the same time, so we were printing stuff. And then had artist books that we had made lithographically, I guess as a way to show people that sometimes people have a preconceived idea of what lithography is. It's nice to do some of these print fairs events to, I guess, showcase the kind of range and potential of lithography.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I'd love it if you could speak a little bit more to your strategies and your philosophies around collaborative printmaking. So when you've got an artist who comes in and you say you've got like some contract work and you know you're going to produce something, how do you begin that conversation? How do you build trust and tease out what the artist wants and what's feasible and do that dance of collaboration?
I guess each one's different, isn't it? Sometimes artists come in and they have a very clear idea of what they want. Other times they have some thoughts, but they don't know how that will kind of come to life. So then it's just a case of having that discussion, trying to learn more about what they're after and thinking about and what we could potentially do with the process to try and help them achieve that. So we've worked with a couple of people exposing glass, objects and shards of glass. For the installation work or printing onto different materials, experimenting with stuff. So they come in and go, I would like to work with this or do something with this material. And we just basically sit down and put heads together and have a chat about it and see what we think can happen from it.
Yeah, I think also because finding more out about the artist's practice is really important about how they actually approach their work, because a lot of the time then they have done printmaking, but they maybe haven't done lithography, and their main practice is not necessarily in print. So, yeah, I think finding out about how they work and trying to adapt that process into lithography, whilst also showing them things which are relevant to their practice, and maybe just putting some wildcards in there, because sometimes the wildcards are the things that are the one. But they are just a case of like, sometimes it's very clear, this is what I want, and this is a very clear picture in the artist's mind, and then we're executing something, and then what Steph said basically.
And in a way, collaboration is a safe space to do that. If you're not that familiar with print, trying to do something a bit more kind of experimental and out there is quite daunting, especially what if it goes wrong? How am I going to... If you have people who already know their kind of craft, so to speak, and they're suggesting these things, then it takes the pressure off. They've not got to try and figure out how it's going to work. That's our job. So they can just have these ideas and thoughts about what they would like to see and how that might work. And then behind the scenes, we try and figure out how that might happen to get them the kind of results they want. So it's for them, it's in some ways more freeing creatively because they don't actually have to worry about how that will happen. We've just got to get them to trust us to know that we can hope we get it to happen.
Yes, indeed. I think if someone wants to try, if there are a few options on the table, I think it's a case of doing a few different tests right at the beginning and showing the artist what they can get out of the medium using the way that they use the materials, because we can show them as many examples as we like, but that's not the same thing as an artist putting a mark on a stone or a plate. So I think if things are a bit up in the air, I think it always helps to settle down nerves by doing something which has no strings attached and just think, okay, let's just try it.
And we've done little test stones and stuff before with artists, and they've they've ended up being additions, the test stones themselves, because the artists really loved what they got or being incorporated into the piece that you're working on. Sometimes those tests work with.
Yeah, they're just the thing, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Like a lot of sense that if you can, set up that situation where the pressure is off, then sometimes that's like really when magic can happen, because there's not that kind of tightness around or anxiety around a new medium or a new expectation. And that, you get, Do artists, are they mostly sort of Bristol based, or do they come in and then this stays through the residency program that you talked about to produce an edition? Where are they coming from?
All over, really. Some people, especially at the beginning, it was more Bristol-based artists, actually. But I think in terms of some people have also been getting funding to come. So they're tapping into various bits of funding and then they can get an Airbnb or something nearby. So, I think if someone has a block of time that they're going to dedicate to producing new work, then, if they can factor in the travel and they can plan the time, then, I think it works pretty well. And in Bristol, it's a big-ish city. There's lots going on and there's lots of Airbnbs and there's lots of things to do. But there are lots of artists in Bristol. It's a very sort of creative hub. And there's a few galleries here. There's lots of artist studios. So we've worked with a few people actually from Bristol. But it's a real mixture as well.
I'd love for you to talk a little bit about the arc of starting Lemonade Press in 2020 and having it survive lockdown, and now at the point where it sounds like it's really growing. You're getting artists from outside of Bristol, and you've got this residency program that you've added to it. In terms of what you've learned, if you could go back to Steph and Kath of 2020 and tell them something, what would that be? Like advice that you wish you'd had in your back pocket when you started, if anything. But
I think there's been a lot of things that have changed since 2020 for obvious reasons. Yeah. You've had 2 children, one of them. And I think because Cohen was such a big part of our lives, and we were spending, when we were commuting together and lift sharing at site, we spend, we're together.
It's like 12, 13 hours a day.
So, we'd leave Bristol about 5:30 in the morning and then come back. I would get back about 8 and then you'd probably get home late, like, I don't know what time. Yeah. But it just felt so all-consuming that the pandemic, for me, I left Cohen at the beginning of the pandemic, essentially. I didn't go back because, I wanted to focus on the studio, but also I think it was the pandemic was like a forced end for me. I planned to, because I was working freelance for them by that point, and I wanted to wind down Kerwin gradually. That was my plan, which obviously did not happen. And I think the pandemic just basically made me personally focus on the studio and building it. I had time to do my own work because I wasn't doing a big drive and working full time. So I feel like even though setting up the studio has been very stressful at times, and also trying to figure out how to pay the rent and make sure everything's going to keep ticking up, it's so much nicer because I live where I work, and there are times, even though I have some downtime, where I can actually do my own work. And I feel like balance is better now.
Yeah.
What do you reckon, Steph?
Yeah, probably the same. It's just that it was very consuming working full time and doing that commute and being able to, I guess, belief in this would, because there was a lot of that at the start. If we do this, will it work? Will it work? So just to trust ourselves and the process. Touch wood, it all seems to be going in the right direction. Because of the studio, we had an opportunity to write a book. So there's all these
unexpected one.
So there's all these things that have happened, especially took that leap of faith and found a space.
Able to get some crucial grant funding, which basically helped keep the doors open, and I also had some graining jobs that I could do in lockdown. Obviously realising people couldn't come into the studio, but how could you keep working? The plate graining was a bit of a saving grace, actually, and it did make me realise, like, wow, this is actually really helping us out. We thought it was going to be a good income stream for the studio, but it was literally keeping the doors open. Really.
Yeah.
So and actually I did a collaborative project with an artist in lockdown where I posted a little litho stone out to her. She'd gone back home. She was living in London, and then she went back home to Leeds with an artist, Fiona Grady, who's an installation artist. And she's also a printmaker and is working, her practice is very concerned with light and transient nature of light through a space. But she was also doing these lovely watercolour drawings in lockdown, and I got the idea from the Mixed Grip project from Gregory Sam. I thought, okay, maybe we could do a collaborative project in lockdown. So I sent her some touche and a baby litho stone and some talc. And we did a collaborative project like via Zoom and the Royal Mail, and she sent me some colour swatches. So I made 3 editions actually for her, and she didn't set foot in the studio.
Yeah.
So it did, creative thinking.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. If you all could think into the future and where you'd love Lemonade Press to be, let's say in like another 4 years or another 10 years, what would you like to see?
I guess just being able to have more collaborative work coming through the studio.
Yeah.
Maybe even a kind of a longer kind of residency kind of program as well. Yeah, just anything that creates an opportunity for that kind of collaborative space to happen, which is mostly through either collaborating or residencies, it seems, because on the residencies, a lot of people generally come to play with the process. That can always be quite fun, especially, like you said, selfishly for us to be able to try something new, or if we've got ideas about something, convincing an artist to try it with us. But
I think for me the same, actually. More work for artists and doing collaborative projects, for sure.
It'd be nice to do some, we've talked about trying to do some portfolio projects with...
Yeah, that would be really cool.
Kind of making some portfolios of work. I guess more, in some case, publishing, but it's having the...
Yes, it would be really nice to start doing some publishing of our own. But yeah, that would be really interesting too. I'd really like the setup at Tamarind where they have the flat upstairs that the artists can stay in, and everything's taken care of that way. That would be a dream.
Oh yeah, to have a bigger space where there could be on-site accommodation.
If you're talking like big dreams.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's go big. Let's dream big.
Beautiful. So I also am curious, we're coming up to the end of our time, but why the Lemonade Press as the name? I'm really curious.
I think, well, for me, my surname's Ade, so it's a bit of a name pun, and also because that's how I would describe how to spell my name to a lot of people. And also felt in a way the phrase "when life gave you lemons." It's actually quite nice. I feel like starting something new and fresh, and I think making a big change in your life, and I think that's probably the idea. What do you reckon?
Yeah.
And also the chocolate's cool.
Yeah, you've got a built-in great shop. Yeah.
Which was designed by someone we were at Crowood with as
Actually,
well.
yes.
The studio with Charlotte.
Graphic designer Charlotte Humphreys. We've actually made a print with her too, so that's really cool. She does a lot of design work for record sleeves and things like that. She's a really amazing designer. Yeah, it was nice to work with her too.
Very nice. Where can people find the Lemonade Press? Out on the internet? Follow? Look into residencies if maybe they want to come by and work with you all? Where is all that online?
We are on Instagram. The Lemonade Press, I think it's Lemonade Litho is the handle. The website is Lemonade Press. Yeah, and send us an email. If anyone's got an idea, we want to hear them.
Beautiful. Thank you both for chatting with me. It's been really lovely to learn more about the Lemonade Press and your two stories, and it just sounds like you're doing really cool work. So I hope someday I can come see what you're doing in person, and just thank you for letting me take some of your time on a Saturday.
Oh, no worries. Yeah, no worries. Lovely to meet you.
If you like today's episode, we have a Patreon where you can help support this podcast and get bonus content like Shop Talk Shorts with past guests. But the very best thing you can do to support this podcast is listen, rate, follow, and share with your fellow print friends around the world. This episode, like all episodes, was written and produced by me, Miranda Metcalf, with editing by Timothy Pauschak and music by Joshua Weber. I'll see you in 2 weeks.